Magdi?
Yes, hello Zoe.
Hi. So last satsang, you brought up um, with Maria, until the world body mind has reabsorbed in the source, there remains a hum of the me sense. And then you talked about a final threshold that needs to be crossed, which is the absolute fear of extinction. And I'm wondering if you could speak about what that was like for you. And then also, is there any way to speed up approaching that?
So in everything that we do, there is a separate self-impression. There is a me impression. That's the sort of the way we are in identification. So in identification, it's an impression. It's the impression that there is a personal self, that there is somebody who is living. There is a personal character that is living. So it's not life that is living, in a way. It's me, the person, is living something called life. So in everything that we do, there is a me impression. There is a personal self. So the I is this person. While in fact there is no person. Consciousness is absolute. It doesn't have any identity. It simply is. It is the light, the shining light of being, that is appropriated by the I thought, the me thought, the person, the identification as a person. And in our meditations, in our yogas, in our contemplations, there is a sort of an inquiry and a process of clarity, of clarification, of clarity that occurs, where we start to comprehend the error, the erroneous way of being a person, that there is, it's not tenable. It has no solid ground to stand on, but still it remains. I remain as the impression, the me impression remains. It starts to get less and less tenable. There's more and more holes in the structure, and it's starting to sort of it cannot stand solidly as a position from which we experience. But in spite of that, there remains an impression, and the impression, there remains. And so it's mostly at the feeling level. There is in the body mind a contracted state. And is a fear that remains of letting go. So of course the sadhana is a sadhana of letting go. Trust the teaching, trust the guidance, let go. It's the ongoing, unending let go. And in this letting go, we become more and more transparent. The fear of extinction, the fear of disappearance, is one of those veils that we also have to go through it, sort of surrender to it, to sort of die. We have to die, be willing to die, be available to the complete letting go. In this moment, it's always live. It's a live situation.
And Magdi, will it be so completely different than any letting go up until this point?
You know, there is a metaphor or a koan in the Buddhist tradition about falling off the cliff, and but somehow there is a little twig that you still hold on to. You hold on to the twig, but it's just the open vastness of the cliff below you. And the koan is that you're holding on to the cliff, and there is you perceive a wild strawberry bush, a wild strawberry that's within your reach, and it's so so sweet. So the koan is about reaching for the strawberry. So you reach for the strawberry, then you let go of the twig. It is you question about, is it so different from, I guess, just letting go of all sorts of images, letting go of beliefs, letting go of opinions, letting go of your contractions. It's all a continuum. You know, it's a continuum. It's along your journey, in one way or the other, life is going to present you with that situation where you're holding on to the twig, and there is the strawberry, and the teaching, of course, goes, oh, how succulent, how succulent is this sweet strawberry in this hot summer day, you know. It's not, you cannot force anything or accelerate the process, in terms of accelerating the process, I think this was part of your question, is to don't put your sadhana, your practice, your contemplation on the back burner. Keep it on the front burner. And to trust the teaching that what you are is beyond life and death, and that what dies is just the impression of something that is alive. There is nothing that is alive. Nothing that is alive. Only life is. But life not as you comprehend it, not life as what you perceive. Life that is there's nothing that can perceive it. There is nothing that is not it. Actually, and it is absolute, universal. There is only that. You can call it life, you can call it death, you can call it being, you can call it absence, you can call it presence. There's only that. Only the reality that's inexpressible. And there is a holding back from it. There's holding back, an impression that some distance that we keep from that. This distance is an imaginary distance, because in fact there is nothing that is apart from that. And yet there is a holding back, there is a personal concern about my awakening, my life, my happiness. When it's the core I thought that they say that the entire beehive is held to the tree by that one stem. Yeah. So all sorts of things can happen to the beehive, but that stem has to be severed for the entire beehive to be freed from every person's journey is different in a way, but at the same time not so different. It is different in that the mind recording of events differs, but the journey to the self is the journey. It has to be a true journey, a real journey. And so the traveler that is traveling has to be real. Otherwise, there is no journey. So the traveler has to be real. So the journey pertains to real journey. And the real journey is only one reality, which is consciousness. So it's a journey of consciousness. But from where to where? From ignorance to awakening. But consciousness is not ignorant. And awakening means nothing to consciousness, because consciousness is beyond awakening or non-awakening. So in fact, the journey is, in fact, there is no journey. And yet, here we are, right? I mean, So the journey is from the self to the self, but in a way, you can't comprehend that. How do you explain a journey from A to A? A is already A, and in terms of the self being absolute and being the only reality, what is it that's awakening to what? So, of course, all of that is sort of conceptual. What really matters is what's happening in your experience. What is it that's really, really happening for you? In terms of your question about the ultimate fear, or the fear of the absolute fear, the ultimate fear, or the fear of the ultimate, which in a way is the fear of ultimate extinction, fear of death, the death of consciousness. Although you can comprehend that consciousness is and is beyond life and death, what is it like in your experience? What's happening in your experience? Is there some concern, some worry, some trouble? What is that? If you trace your I thought, the I thought, it's going to bring you to that stem that's holding the beehive to the tree, which is the core I thought, which is more of an identity, much more than an I thought. It's an identity. I feel that I'm in this room. What is it that is in this room? How do you know for certitude, with complete certainty, that you are in this room? For most people, that would be a banal question. It's a ridiculous question. Of course I am in this room. Here are the four walls, the ceiling, and the floor, and I'm in this room. What we fail to understand is that entire realm is a thought realm. It's a perceptual, a mental realm. That in fact, there is no evidence that I is an object, that I is a body-mind. In spite of the thought that says otherwise, and in spite of the feelings that say otherwise, there is not an actual evidence. That's not an evidence that the I that perceives these thoughts and feelings is accurately described by thoughts and feelings, or can be described at all. This sort of probing into that feeling, which has in it sort of a belief and the sensation, a mixture of thoughts and feelings, the probing into that is going to bring you face to face with your extinction, with the ending, your ending. So you asked how it happened in my experience, and I will also speak generically, not just in my experience. In my experience, it was a mixture of a sudden seeing, a sudden dying, and an unexpected dying, which is basically grace is doing, really. And at the same time, saying yes to dying when the choice presented itself, to say yes. So when the choice presents itself, you say yes. you say yes. And there isn't any one mold that within which the dying to the absolute can fit. It takes on many forms. It can be a series of letting go and letting go and letting go and letting go, and at some point there may be a bigger letting go, or even more than one bigger letting go, where you say yes to dying, but you're saying yes to what? What is it that you're saying yes to dying, to letting go? You will find that more and more you're not, there is no, the eternal is eternal, and what you're letting go of becomes more and more easy to let go of, because you realize more and more that you're letting go of a phantom. You're letting go of, in fact, you will come to a place where you will find there is nothing to let go of, because there is nothing that is not you.
And so for you, it was one big seeing and then a continuing series.
It's not a very useful question.
Yeah. Okay. So my other question is, doing these yoga meditations, you talk about our real body is the cosmic body, and we're just getting a taste of that, and the transparency of the body. Mm. So that's, I guess, in a way, poking holes in the solidity of, I mean, that's what it feels like. It feels like it's,
How do you experience solidity?
uh, well, just mm, really mentally, now, now I I see that it's mental, because when I go to the experience of it, it starts dissolving.
When I was a kid, there was this when the kids we asked each other these puzzles. I don't know, how do you call it? What weighs heavier, 1 pound of rock or 1 pound of cotton? What weighs heavier, 1 pound of feathers or 1 pound of gravel? Did you ever? Yeah, I don't know. When I was a kid, I'd go, "Oh my God!" Of course, it's the gravel weighs heavier.
You don't have the concept of a pound yet. Oh.
It's so much mind in. I mean, you could say that the entire realm of mind is ignorance.
It is.
And until we start to see through it, we're perceiving through those filters. And the entire la grappe, how do you say, the entire grape starts from the stem. Then there are 100 grapes on the la grappe, they say, but there's the stem, and the stem is the I thought, that I am born, that I am a person, that I'm a man, a woman. And there is so much in the realm of the senses that form this identity. And this entire identity is mental. It's made out of thoughts and sensations. So the body, we experience the body, we experience the mental body. The mental body is the physical body. You understand? The mental is the physical.
Yes.
And so we're experiencing this mental body, and because mentation and sensation are connected, body-mind. So at the body-mind realm, we are experiencing a density or a certain, it's a immensity. The me is this density. This we experience meingness, meingness, not beingness, meingness. And so we are meing. We are meing. We are meing. We are meing.
That's perfect.
And the meaning includes a feeling. So there is this impression of a physical body, while in fact your true body, because if you look at your true body right now,
it's everything.
Yeah. Well, see, because if a thought arises about your true body, that thought that arises about your true body is not knowing. of your true body. Thought is only expressing a thought impression. And the thought impression is just a reverberation of that is not an impression. But you don't perceive that is not an impression. You perceive only the thought impression. So we refer to that is not a thought impression in our contemplation, because we know that is invisible. We know I. That cannot be perceived, but yet perceives. Like when you look at a tree and you see the leaves on the tree, the senses perceive the color of the leaves, the green leaves. And the senses are unable to perceive that in fact it is not the color does not belong to the leaves. It belongs to the sun. It's the white light, let's say, as a metaphor, the white light hits the prism, and via the diffraction of the light, you see green leaves.
Right.
So then the mind says, green leaves, which is a thought. And it's only expressing that limited experience. It's not expressing the reality. The reality is the reality of the sunlight or the sun. As a metaphor, the reality of consciousness.
Wow.
So in the body-mind realm, you experience the body-mind, but you can infer via your contemplation. You can refer to the source, because it is the source that is the true perceiver, the reality of the thought. The reality of the thought is not the thought, it's consciousness. So there is a thought green leaves, there is a thought Santa Claus. The reality of both thoughts is consciousness. So the reality is what really is significant.
Yeah.
In a way, you could say that it's a contemplation. The whole quote-unquote spiritual realm is about contemplation of truth, contemplation of reality. So the reality is the reality of consciousness in your experience. You know that because you are that, and you know consciousness as you are consciousness. Right? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that's real. Of course, there are many dreams, many images, many thoughts, many sensations. And yes?
Yeah.
But still the reality is the reality of consciousness. Yes?
Mm.
So then a body or consciousness, we know, is infinite and formless, and is beyond any division, right?
Yes.
Right.
You had also said something about there's no inside or outside.
Right. Because reality is absolute. So the impression of inside outside is within it as its play. It says day and night. But It's day and night right now. Right now is day, but it's also night. Right now it's day and night, not just day. The mind says it's only day, but in fact it's also night. Day and night are within that is completely free of day and night. You cannot call it day or night. You cannot say that is day or night. You say, oh, this is day, that is night. But in fact, in reality, this is day and night. Because reality is only one. So it's now, therefore, the reality of reality is that now is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Now it's all the o'clocks. Now is 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 20. Now is because reality is one, and you cannot divide it into 365 pieces. And because we're interested in reality, the contemplation of reality, we're not interested in whether it's the Egyptian calendar or the calendar, the Peruvian calendar. We're not interested in the history of the mind. We're interested in truth. And we know that consciousness is real, and it's only one consciousness. Right? Because we've never experienced any other consciousness, right?
Right. Yeah, just mentally I thought I was, but all of this is blowing that away. Yeah.
Right. You may perceive a thought, but you perceive a million thoughts.
Yeah.
But it's always the same consciousness. So then we know reality is consciousness and has no borders. Then we ask ourselves, well, then what is the reality of the body? It has to be the same reality. So we can comprehend that, the reality of the body and reality of consciousness are one reality, which means infinite presence, infinite, borderless, eternal. You cannot divide the body in 18 pieces.
Wow.
Because you can divide any imaginary body in 1,000,000 pieces, but you cannot divide reality into any pieces, right?
No.
So the reality of the body, since we experience the body as a contraction, meaning we are defending, we're protecting because we're identifying. So the yoga is a yoga of noticing the vastness of being, noticing the vastness of the breath, going to the sensation and inviting the recognition of what is, which is that in fact the body is, which is sensations, there are no words and no mind, nothing that contains them, and they're completely free and relaxed. So it's noticing the freedom and the relaxation, noticing that the body is not. There isn't in fact a knotted up body, knotting. There isn't actually an actual knotting. There are impressions. So it's a sort of a relaxing and a releasing and a recognizing that body is, there are impressions arising in the vastness of being. Now, the vastness of being is not a concept. We're talking about right now your experience. to go to your experience right now and notice that.
Yeah, the body is unlocatable.
Right. So the yogas are not about having a more supple body. Of course, it's nice to have a supple body. So the body isn't an obstacle, but it's not the objective to have a supple body, but to invite the body to the recognition of its true formlessness, its complete transparency. In fact, its absence.
Mm.
So we're inviting the body to its absence. In the yogas, we're inviting the body to its absence, which is its infinite presence.
Yeah, no borders.
Yes, right. Hello, Shiva.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, sorry.
Magdi, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you faintly.
Oh, that's strange. I was just about writing it in the chat box and I thought it's better if I just say it because I'm typing so slowly.
Okay, I am hearing you, Shiva, but is everybody else hearing Shiva as well?
Can you hear me?
He's very faint.
Very faint. Yeah, I hear you faint.
I
Yes.
don't know what it is.
Get close to your microphone.
Oh, maybe
I'm
yes.
close to my microphone. I could basically kiss it. So maybe I should type it then. I wanted to say I'm talking loudly, so maybe you can hear me better.
Okay, I hear you. What I will do is I will repeat your question so everybody else can hear it as well.
So we often talk about non-phenomenal recognition.
We often talk about non-phenomenal recognition.
Yeah, when the self recognizes itself through
Mhm.
the vehicle of our body-mind structure. This is pretty much what enlightenment is, right? Non-phenomenal recognition. All is self, and the self recognizing itself.
Okay, yes,
Yeah?
you could, yes.
Now,
So that the awakening is the self-recognizing itself. Yes, I wouldn't say it's via the body-mind mechanism, but yes, it is the self.
I mean, it happens in the living body.
I wouldn't say it this way. I wouldn't say that it happens within the living body, but I would say yes, it is a self awakening to itself, recognizing itself. Yes.
Great. Now, I'm just bringing this up because in the Costa Rica tapes, which were beautiful, by the way, the Costa Rica videos.
Okay.
Yeah, the satsang you had in Costa Rica recently.
Yes.
One piece which did really strike me as very potent, but it poses a little bit a conundrum because you said, if I remember it well, consciousness can only, when you recognize something, then hang on, how did you phrase that? What you recognize, what you see is the person.
Is the person?
Yes, it's the person. So you were saying something along the lines of, I have to paraphrase it, like when I think of I, then it's automatically the person I, because consciousness cannot think of itself or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Would you want to say a couple of words
Yes.
to that together with this non-phenomenal recognition?
Yes, yes,
define
yes.
it a little bit more clearly.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat your question just
Thank you.
because, just in case not everybody has heard it. Basically, Shiva was saying, and please correct me if I'm not repeating it correctly. A question about the self-recognizing itself, self-recognition, that I had said in one of the meetings in the Costa Rica retreat, that whenever we refer to I, we're referring to I, the person, and that consciousness doesn't refer to itself. Was that, did I say it correctly, Shiva?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and just to say some more about that in terms of the self-recognizing itself. So, yes, in the identified state, in the situation that we refer to as ignorance of the self, ignorance of truth, we refer to I as a person. That's I think that's pretty obvious. Is there a question about that, Shiva, or that's clear to you that we usually refer to I as I the person? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So that's pretty clear. And there is like the I thought is sort of hidden. It's like the hidden in Christianity. They refer to it as the original sin. You know, the what the initiation of karma, the birth of karma, is with the I thought that sort of gets into the ground floor, on the ground floor, and then we're building and building and building upon that. But down in that cellar, is the I thought that has somehow infected the whole structure. Just sort of metaphorically speaking, of course. And in our contemplation, we're looking at that. We're saying, what am I truly? What is it? What is the real? What am I truly? What is the reality? Because if there is a reality, and I call the reality I, me, the person, I want to be 1,000% sure. You know, I want to know for completely. I want to be completely sure that I'm pretty clear that is what is real. So I contemplate, you know, what is the reality of me, the person. And of course, you know, quickly in our contemplation, we realize that, heck, the 10-year-old boy and the 60-year-old boy is changed. I mean, a lot of things have changed, but there is something that hasn't changed, but I can't put my hand on it. I can't make a drawing on it. I can show you pictures of 10-year-old Magdi, 16-year-old Magdi, 40-year-old Magdi, and you see, wow, this, you know, this has been changing. There's been some, but there is something that has not changed, but I cannot take a picture of it. Then I realize in my contemplation that that's actually that's I. That's what I refer to as the true I, the self, capital S. That's the self. But we cannot take a picture of it with any camera, or we cannot take any picture of it with words, or take any picture of it with thoughts. We cannot draw it. We can only know it more and more as that is in fact what is. That is in fact what I am. And so in that journey of contemplation, in a relative way of, because at the mind level it's all relative, we say, well, there is a journey, that there is a contemplation going on, there is a journey, and this journey, this contemplation is a real contemplation. It has to be real, because if it's not real, which is possible, then there is nothing for us to talk about. So whatever reality there is to this contemplation, whatever reality that there is to your spiritual life, because I would hate for you or for myself to be spending 40, 50 years of my life doing spiritual work, and while there is no reality to it. I mean, so I ask myself, wait a minute, I'm not spinning my wheels. If I'm doing something, there has to be a reality to it. So what is the reality of my entire spiritual journey? I'm contemplating truth. What is it that's contemplating the truth? What is it that's contemplating the self? What is it that's probing into these questions? It's I. So I say, okay, so in order for this contemplation to be real, this I must be real. Okay, so okay, well, all right, so this I is real. So therefore, there is an I that is not visible to the senses. That is the real contemplator, let's say. That is the real meditator, if you want to say. Okay. Then I say, well, okay, then what is the reality of the contemplation? Now I understand there is a reality to the contemplator, and that's I. What is the reality of the contemplation? The reality of the contemplation is that there is a probing, there is a looking into what am I truly? What is the reality of a thought? What is the reality of a perception? What is the reality of a sensation? What is its reality? And this probing is always occurring right now, right here. It's not occurring in time and space, because it's always in this present moment that has no descriptive to it. It has no time or space to it. It's neither inner nor outer. It's just is. So then there is the reality to my contemplation, not just that the contemplator is real, but the reality of the contemplation is this eternal probing that is coming from I, from the true self. And that is looking at truth, meaning it's looking at itself, because there's only one truth. So the self, which is truth, is looking at truth, is looking at truth. But how can the self look at itself? Because it's only itself. It's only itself. So it's looking at itself. But where do you go to look at yourself?
Looking, no looking.
Huh?
Looking, no looking.
Looking, no looking. So is it looking? Is it no looking? So it's looking, no looking. We come to the let's say it's all relative. Okay, all I'm saying is relative, because truth is really wordless. But you come to the core of the contemplation, that in fact, when we say the self is contemplating itself, in fact, even that is saying too much. Even that is saying too much. We come to complete stillness. We come to the complete not knowing, which has no lack in it, which is not seeking knowing. We come to the suspension of all. We come to the end of thought. But also, there are really no words to be added.
Yeah, it hit me like a steamboat, what you said in the Costa Rica retreat. Because I realized every time I think it's obviously the person. I cannot think I being consciousness. Because as consciousness, I'm everything. So there's no need to say I. I cannot say I.
Yeah. You see,
So
yeah.
easy, you know, it sort of feels like, wow, it was so strong. And that's why I wanted to address this with you, so you can say some more about it. And this is exactly what I came to. I said, at the end, there's no words. There cannot be words.
Yes.
At the end, there's no more words.
And
As long as thoughts and words,
Right.
you're still in some form of personal identity.
Yes.
Par force, it's like by definition.
Yes. So in a way,
Crazy.
the teaching is not in the words. It's you could say through the words, but it's actually the self. It's the silence and the stillness and the peace of being that cannot be described, cannot be. So with tat tvam asi, thou art that.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Love you, Maki. Thank you.
Okay, Shiva. Ananda, hello, Ananda.
Hey, so I've really enjoyed the satsang so far, and I have a slightly more nitty gritty question. Not quite as out there, but anyway, here goes.
Yes.
I wrote it so I wouldn't have to fumble around, say it, and there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Oh, okay. Okay, Ananda. So you're right. Someone said she likes being around me because you are not operating from the ego or from the libido. To some degree, she is accurate. But mainly, it felt like a pointer about living as consciousness. What I'm looking for via this question is how to respond when I sense there is some confusion between consciousness and the me ego impression. What I'm looking for via this question is how to respond when I sense there is some confusion between consciousness and the me.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very good, Ananda, that you notice that there is a confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have an opportunity in this noticing to look, to turn your attention you're going to feel and sense that me impression. You will feel it and sense it in your body. Somehow, I would overall say some form of grit, inner grit, or and also you will not be experiencing that peace, that complete absence from which everything arises. So in speaking, it is good to speak from your absence. Now, what you could also speak is your sincere experience, your honest experience. And if you, as you say in your question, you're noticing, you're not sure whether you're speaking from consciousness or from the me, that, depending on who you are with, that you can speak to that. Because
in the case that somebody understands what I'm talking about.
Yes, of course. Most important is, of course, the sincerity, that you are above all sincere with yourself. When you are sincere with yourself, you're not trying to polish any image. There is an image, because image, no matter how polished it is, it's still an image. It's not what you are. It is just, it is a lot of suffering behind a very nicely polished image. And that's not at all what you are, because you are not a suffering being. You are that freedom, that transparency, that mirror that can reflect whatever appears. But the fire doesn't burn you, and the water doesn't drown you. And when you are feeling that you are vulnerable, then you are confusing the vulnerability of the body with the vulnerability of the self. We all know the vulnerability of the body. You know, it's
expectations and hopes and
no, that's more psychological. No, I'm talking
the body itself.
Yeah, the body itself. You know, it's it's laws of attraction and repulsion, and the mechanistic aspects of the body. It's hunger, it's tiredness, it's that, but the difficulties of the body do not refer to difficulties of the self, because the self is not, it manages the body, but it's not the body. It's not the body. It is not the body. So when a tree falls down, or nothing is happening to the universe, to the space. When a wave arises and recedes, there is nothing happening to the ocean. Nothing. The ocean is actually not waving. It is the wave that is waving. The ocean is complete. So you look into it, Ananda. You look into it. You look into this question. What is going on here?
Yeah.
The body-mind image, Ananda an image. Because consciousness is not an image, right?
Right.
And it is not trying anything. The body-mind may be. The body-mind may be interested in, I don't know, maybe a company has some interest because it perceives that, okay, maybe better situation for the body-mind. So it pursues that, as long as you are being, you're honoring everybody's welfare and principles of fairness and honesty, and so that's okay. But it's not about having a perfect body or body-mind experience, or body-mind being a perfect body-mind. It's about awakening to what you truly are. It's knowing what you truly are, and inviting that knowingness into your life. Saying, okay, I invite that is to live itself, to live whatever it wants to live through this body-mind, to express itself any way it wants through this body-mind. So in this very moment, I don't know what I'm speaking, but I'm open to what is being spoken, what is calling to be spoken. It doesn't matter. Whatever is flowing through, to flow through, and to be truthful, and to be a blessing, and to be appropriate to what we are talking about together now, you see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there isn't like a personal intention outside of honoring being with you in this question or in this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, as what we truly are, not as any images that I have of you or any images that I want you to have of me or any images that I have of myself. Not as that, because that is, it's always separating. It's always, it separates, and it creates an impression that is not happy.
You know, something just occurred to me. It's kind of a, you were talking about death earlier with
Zoe.
So the death, you say yes to death, you know, when you have the opportunity. Well, I had very profoundly said yes to death on many occasions. And now then I find subsequently, it's almost like, well, there's the appearance of life and it's going on. And as long as it's going on and I'm here, see, this is a way of dialing back a little bit from that freedom. Saying, as long as it's here, then I'll try to optimize it and get the best experience, and etc. And it sort of opens the gate to relative identity again, even though there's a.
You're playing with fire. You see, you're playing with fire because you are assuming that you are both the self consciousness and both the body mind.
That's I think that's it.
And until you are fully, I wouldn't play with fire at this point. I just stay with consciousness. Stay with just I am the self. Stay with not knowing. Stay with allowing God's grace to take care of Ananda's business. Not don't invite Ananda to sit at the same table.
Because that's all based on conditioning and
it's maintaining. It maintains the identity. It maintains the identification. So there is a resistance in wanting to optimize whatever is unfolding.
Right.
A resistance to allowing yourself to be completely optimized.
to being in touch with that which is optimal already.
Yes. to not to be in touch, to be that, to allow that to be. To allow that to be. Because in that optimal self, there isn't anybody who is trying to optimize for themselves. So there is a cosmic order, and in this cosmic order, it's the entire cosmic order that's being optimized, if you want to use using that term of being optimized. The entire cosmic order, and it's not being optimized by Magdi or by Ananda. It is being optimized by the true optimizer, the optimizer in chief, which is the only reality. Only reality.
Right.
Only reality is consciousness. And what would consciousness optimize, as it is everything?
Right.
Like you are dreaming all your dreams. You are in your night dreams. You're dreaming all your dreams. You optimize your dreams upon recognizing that you are not a personal self being chased by a tiger. You are not a personal self who's trying to optimize their fortune. That that is the dream character
Mhm.
in your dream that you're identified with as trying to optimize via their own situation, via their own their own doing, their own doing.
Right.
So in fact, the true optimization of the dreams, of all your dreams,
Mhm.
is to recognize yourself as the one reality. And
Mhm.
then that child that's being chased by the lion is no longer being chased by the lion. And
Mhm.
that character in the night dream that is trying to optimize their fortune via their own personal doing is no longer there.
Mm. Nice. You know, I had a teacher once who would say, there's always two ways of going wrong. So one would be buying into the personal self and not doing what you just said, you know, and not taking the expanded view. And the other way of going wrong, I see that I do also, is to then make a statement. Well, I am consciousness. I am,
Yeah.
I am the consciousness, and something. I don't know what to make a.
What we could say, Ananda, is that I refers to the reality of consciousness, or the I is reality. The reality of I. The reality I is universal I.
Right.
Not personal I.
Right, right. And that's again the issue of confusion between ego and consciousness.
The self. Yes, yes, yes. This impression that there is there is separation. In fact, in our experience right now, is it not your experience that you are experiencing yourself as this very conversation, whatever? It's an experience of yourself as that.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have I'm not in any manacles, chains, and
Yeah, I mean, just looking at your experience right now, whatever you're experiencing right now, this perception, this conversation, is it not something intimately happening within yourself? Before we start thinking about it, if you look at it, you find that indeed it's so intimate. It's you and you and you and you and you. It's just the self.
Right, right.
Experiencing itself as that, as this, as mind, you'd say, you know, but it's experiencing itself
as manifestation of mind, but not problematic,
not separate. Like in your night dreams, you experience so many different images and impressions, but as a dreamer, you're not separate.
Dreamer, yeah. And I sometimes go through a whole dreaming sequence at night, just pleasantly aware that this is dreams. You know, not I wouldn't call it. You know, it's not like I'm it's not like maybe people say conscious dreaming or something, but it's just an awareness that it doesn't matter what it would show up. It's not doesn't hurt. It can't hurt, and whatever. And it's more or less that way in the waking state. And I just appreciate these kind of conversations to clarify that view. You know what I mean? It's not a narrow focus, but it's a something of a focus.
Invite your entire being to rest.
Mm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Hi, Magdi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Holly.
Hello, Holly.
Hi there.
Yes.
So I have a question about, it's not exactly a metaphor you use, but it's a line of reasoning that you use sometimes. And it's when you talk about consciousness never being born and never dying. I think I've heard you describe a number of times the fact that we can't remember not having existed. And I just wanted to ask about that because there's a lot of things I don't remember happening, but that doesn't mean they didn't happen. So
Right.
do you have any other approaches for that?
Yes, Holly. In fact, I don't recall saying that we don't remember.
Or we don't remember being born, maybe, was closer. I don't know.
Well, I say so many things.
That's true.
I would say that we do not have any experience of being born. If we look at our experience, Holly, what is it we experience? Do we experience birth? What is birth? I know that it's likely that when we pose that question to ourselves, what is birth? That it's likely that all sorts of thoughts will arise to address the question, to, what is the word, to squash the question? Is that the right word? Squash it? To suffocate the question. Because thought cannot answer any question. What is it that is born? It's a good question. What is birth? So let us say, Holly, that you are born and that now you forgot that you were born. But in fact, you are born, yes? But you forgot, like a lot of things that you said in your question, a lot of things you don't remember. You know, you were, maybe when you were 2-year-old, you went to Atlanta and you don't remember. So let's say that you were born, but you don't remember you were born. You were born, you were there, you experienced being born, but you forgot that experience. Right? So let's say that that's the case. Then the question that you can ask yourself is, what is it that was there that experienced my birth and forgot it, of course, after a while? What is it that was there that experienced my birth? Something was there. I was there and I experienced my birth, but now I forgot it. So the I that experienced my birth, that was already there, right? So how can I, that was already there, experience my birth? So you wonder about that. Say, well, maybe there is something shady about this thing about I'm born. You know? So either I am born or I'm not born. There isn't like I'm halfway born. So we accept, because we don't know. We say, okay, we accept I am born. What would know that? Something would know that I'm born. What's the point of my grandmother knowing that I'm born? I need to know that I'm born, because otherwise I'm going to rely on my grandmother, or maybe she's cuckoo, you know, about the I being born. Now, it's a different thing than the body. We know the body is born. That we know. We have movies. Now it's a big thing. We make a movie. Oh, here's the head, blah, blah. So we have a movie that, and we're very proud of it. You know, my son, my daughter, whatever. Well, let me not go there. So we're not talking about the birth of the body. Yes? We're talking about I. So the I is the reality that right now perceives this perception. This I that perceives this perception is perceiving through the body-mind, but is not the body-mind. Like I talk all the time about the bird watcher is watching the birds using the binoculars, but it's not the binoculars that perceive the bird. It is the bird watcher that perceives the bird via the binoculars, right? So it's not the binoculars. And then the bird watcher can put the binoculars away. Now it's sipping a cup of tea, doesn't give a hoot about the binoculars or the birds, is enjoying Beethoven's symphony and is having a good time sipping the tea and listening to the music. Similarly, consciousness perceives via the body-mind this perception, but is completely free of the body-mind. It just uses the infinite body-minds to perceive infinite perceptions and disposes of them whenever it wants to, as it does in deep sleep. In deep sleep, consciousness disposes of the body-mind. So in terms of the core of ignorance, the original sin is that I am born, that I am the body-mind, that I am the body, and that I am born in 1960-something, whatever, and I am living in time and space. This entire realm is mind. So wouldn't it make sense, Holly, for you to rely on your own experience? That first, your experience is that you never had an experience of being born. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that that's your experience. Secondly, the thought that says, well, maybe I did experience being born, but I forgot, that's impossible, because how would you experience your own birth? You cannot be both born and unborn. So that also, according to your own reasoning, which is referred to as a high reasoning, that capacity that we have to contemplate truth, to contemplate consciousness, to contemplate reality, that capacity, which the high reasoning capacity, is a gift from God that's unbelievable. And this is what we do in satsang, among other things. We also invite that high reasoning to awaken in us. Say, well, wait a minute, I get it. You're right. I hear that. That makes sense. Bingo. It goes bingo in your mind. It goes bingo. And there is a shift that you may not sense it, but there is a shift, that an adjustment, a correction, a dropping of the falls, like the glaciers, how they're melting. Just did I address your question, Holly? Is there more to your question?
No, I think you addressed it. I think it was pretty straightforward. Just that wondering, if I don't remember it, maybe
right.
It still happens. But right. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, we always remember, and even what we don't remember, a lot of things that I don't remember, and sometimes I remember them incorrectly. I was there, But the body mind sort of distorts the memory. Sometimes we remember only incorrect. We remember, oh, it was as we were. It was rainy the day, and then later on realize, oh no, it was not rainy. It was sunny, but because it was 30 years ago, whatever. So the body mind is an imperfect tool when it comes to perfect memory. Computers, on the other hand, have perfect memory. Well, except when there is a virus or whatever. The machines, they can have perfect memory because you can, enter the date, the time, and all the data, shows up. But the body mind is a little bit different. But the point that is crucial is to understand that body mind memory that memory refers to body mind, not to consciousness.
Yeah, I got that.
Yes.
Thank you. And Emma is here and says hello also.
Okay. Hello to Emma. Hello, Emma. Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Nice to be with both of you. So the contemplation of truth takes you from the multiplicity of things to the wholeness. The contemplation of truth takes you from the multitude of thoughts and beliefs and to the one reality. It brings all the imaginary scatter back to order. Of course, this is metaphoric because in fact, what is an imaginary scatter? Imaginary scattering, imaginary division, imaginary separation. Might as well be talking about remember when Julian was a little boy, he had all these characters, these heroes. He had all these heroes, and he played. He was, I don't know, 3 years old, 4 year old. I don't remember. He played with all these characters, and they were all imaginary. But for him, it was a whole thing, Of course, that's playful, which is very sweet. But when it comes to separating yourself into so many images, the images you don't like about yourself, and then you like them tomorrow, and then the day after you hate them, and images you have of each other, of so many ideas, and the images it's via those images that you separate yourself, and then you feel that you are this separate self. And then all the concerns, the worries, the concerns about being a body, being a body. And then we want to have a better body, nicer image, and it's a huge multi-billion-dollar market of image, to get a better image. It's okay if it's playful, you see, but when it's serious and it's not fun. And the things that we do, to defend our image, the things that we do to each other, the exploitation, the disregard, and all sorts of prejudices, the bigotry and the hatred and the judgments. so awful. I mean, I would say that probably 90% of therapies have to do with some sort of a image, abusing each other as we're perceiving each other via the prism of our narrow images, and causing such awful pain and suffering. It helps nobody. Nobody is benefiting. Nobody's benefiting. But it's that sense of lack. We're trying to fill it. We're trying to fill the bottomless lack. It's a bottomless lack. So we recognize that within ourselves, and in our sincerity, we surrender all our opinions, beliefs, images, ideas. And when we decide to live according to the high principles, the divine principles, it's a beautiful day. It's never about oneself. It's about love of truth. Love is truth. It's about truth and love, and honoring the gift of consciousness that recognizes itself. Okay, well, thank you all for your beautiful friendship and love and company. So, namaste, and we see you soon, yeah? Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay.
Bye bye.